Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to the Falcoholic Lives Falcons vs. Texas Week 5 post-game show. I'm Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin, joined by my co-host. He is Jordan Watkins at Big 75. Fella, Jordan, big dub today. How we feeling? Exhale.
That's what I can say. I mean, there's so much good stuff in this game. Some not so good, some I really didn't like, and just everything in between. But at the end of the day, what matters? Falcons won. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So good to see you bounce back after the last 2 weeks, and a lot of facets of the game. And again, you'd rather see an ugly win than an ugly loss. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, always. And you know, it's. I think this was definitely not on the radar of a lot of fans who look Desmond Ridder coming off 2 really bad games, to where I think the Desmond Ridder meter was at the lowest point it's ever been. And it's tough. You know, that's what's going to happen when you play like that. And people were justified for being fed up with Ritter, to where we were having to answer questions about, is Heineke going to start? Like, how long does Ritter have to turn things around? And it's great to see the young quarterback bounce back. At, where he's been great at home, he was even better. Like, this wasn't like, oh, he's playing at home, he's not terrible. No, this was a legitimately good game for Desmond Ridder. So I think everyone who was sort of nitpicking, like, oh, week 2 wasn't good enough, whatever, we need to see a whole game. Like, Ritter, I think, played almost flawless in this game, within reason. Obviously, we're not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes or something like that, but he didn't make the mistakes. He was decisive with the ball. He made quick decisions. He took the shots when he needed to. The accuracy was on point. He used his legs effectively. Basically, all of the critiques that we had over the last couple weeks, we saw Ritter make the needed improvements, and the rest of the offense really was the one letting Ritter down for much of this game. So that was obviously unexpected, but hey, he overcame it. So props to him.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, it's like I said, I know there was some of the bad. Like I said, there were 4 straight possessions in the second half where the ball touched the ground on offense, right? Bijan had the fumble. Jonnu had one. Daryl Hodge had one on the, the Wildcat snap. Throw that whole playbook out, please. But then also, then you had, I know forward progress was stopped, but because of the recurring theme of what had been going on, then you see Tyler Algier put the ball on the ground. So I didn't like that. But here's one thing I will say. And, I'm going to give Desmond his flowers because he absolutely deserved them today. But if anyone's heard me talk about the Falcons before and what I need to see changed on the offense, here's who I really want to give flowers to, because I've been very critical of him. Arthur Smith. I mean, finally you saw easy throws, some easy answers for what the coverage was giving for Desmond. It just allowed him to get into a groove. You saw play action early in the game. Again, by the end zone, there's the quarterback run coming into play again. And later on in the game, too, you saw how there were some things that were designed for Kyle Pitts to get open, where he was in the slot. All right, boom, gets to the middle of the field. They couldn't stop it. You saw the one-on-one opportunities for Drake London. All these things that if you ask Falcons fans, I don't care. Again, before this game, I don't care what they did or did not think about Desmond Ridder. I think all those things that you saw today were things that we had been asking to see, at least from the passing game, from the Falcons this whole season so far, and it finally showed up today. Also, no sacks for Desmond Ridder, too, which was huge. So good job, too, for the O-line, at least pass pro-wise.
Yeah, you love to see it. You love to see it. Before we dive into the rest of this breakdown, guys, I want to bring you a quick word from our sponsor, betonline.ag. Folks, football is back, and BetOnline is your number one information source for all your sports wagering info, with all the up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns you need. And you can get, of course, the latest game odds, the latest spreads and totals from the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on statistics, news, and odds from Week 1 all the way to the college football playoff and Super Bowl. BetOnline gives you access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. So, folks, what are you waiting for? Head to that website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Jordan, obviously, a lot of praise for the defense, as usual, which is kind of feeling like, oh, wow, we praised the defense again. But let's definitely start with the offense, because that was the bigger surprise. And I know we got a ton of donations. We love that, folks. Keep them coming. We will try to get to all of them. I know. I mean, we obviously appreciate everyone for donating. We will try to take time to get to those throughout today's program. Thank you guys so much for that. But it's just it's you love it for Desmond because the guy was getting absolutely massacred on Twitter, and rightfully so, especially after last week. That it was a really bad game. He made a lot of bad throws, bad decisions. The turnover-worthy plays were really coming back to bite him, and just nothing was working. The whole thing looked broken. It's not easy to get back on the horse after that, but you have to do that to be a quarterback in the NFL because you're going to have games like that. It's going to happen. It happens to good quarterbacks. It happens to great quarterbacks. Desmond did it. He got back on the horse today and executed not only a average game, not only a good game, but a legitimately very, very good game where this was by far the best performance of his career. He's over 320 yards. This looks like a legitimate passing game. And there were points left on the field, not by him, but
right.
We're talking about the turnovers, stupid penalties, took at least 6 points off the board in terms of field goal opportunities. Really everything was going wrong around Desmond Ridder. And he was the stabilizing force that kept this thing together. I mean, what a nice change to see for the young quarterback that he was able to reach that potential and show that flash that we just desperately needed to see from him this week.
No, absolutely. And I mean, we always heard people talk about in the offseason coming into this year and in training camp about the main thing everyone talked about Desmond Ridder was his leadership. And I know there were a lot of fans that are like, really? Is that the only compliment that we have for him? That's telling me something. That means he isn't that good. If all you can say is that he's got leadership qualities. No, it's a real thing. It's a real thing because like you said, and I know people like to say that, oh yeah, we don't hear the outside noise. Yeah, you do. You can say it. You can try to make fans believe it all you want. Yeah, you do. Trust me. I've been in these locker rooms before. They absolutely know what's out there. And so the fact for Desmond, not just to have the game that he had, to have the game when he had it and how it looked. I think that's the other thing too, right? Where it was, I mean, how many times did you see him scan the field from left to right or right to left? I was so happy to see on that last drive too, again, not forcing anything. Okay, you want to play off coverage? Cool, I'm just going to take what you give me. There was one play that the pocket started to break down a little bit. Cool, I'll use my legs to pick up some yards. It was just the whole package for him today. And again, he just looked the most comfortable I think I have seen him look, not just this year, but even if we want to go back to the last 4 years of last season too. So the fact that he had this game and when he had it, especially with other things that were going on with this team today, was just absolutely impressive. It was.
Yes. You love to see it, and it's obviously better than the constant negativity, even though it was justified. We all would rather be positive about the team and the players, and obviously unless you're some kind of pathetic person, you should want Desmond Ridder to put it together and succeed, because if it can work, and obviously we've got one great game in the midst of a sea of pretty bad games and pretty mediocre games, so no one should be overreacting one way or the other to this one performance, but if you can make it work with Ritter and he can become something for you, we talked about it. Like, yes, it by the same token that he's easy to move on from if he's not the guy. If he is the guy, or even a passable guy for a while, you save so much in terms of both draft capital and cap space that you can really build an elite roster around Ritter. So the idea is that Ritter is a good game manager, like sort of a 16 to 20th type of quarterback. I think that if you're being generous and hopeful, that's sort of what you're hoping for. And like what we were getting was like 32nd. This week, this was definitely I don't know. I would say this might easily be a top 15 performance this week. We'll have to see the rest of the games, but this was, I mean, I don't know. It was a good game. Like, there's no other way around it. There's no excuses. Yeah. There's no sugarcoating. There's no but like he played a legitimately very good game today. I don't really have much critique.
And the thing for me is I'm laughing. First off, shout out everybody who's in the chat right now. I'm laughing because it's, this is the way it goes. It's either we're saying Desmond Ridder, or this is how people think this goes. We either say Desmond Ridder is the worst quarterback possible, but now he's the greatest. Like, no, First off, we're not saying that. But we want to give the man his flowers for having a good game. Desmond Ridder had a good game. It's okay to say that, because here's the thing for me. I'm not putting him in Patrick Mahomes category, Kevin. I know you aren't either.
Franchise quarterback now, yeah.
Right, I know. But the thing for me is like, look, the game just ended. Falcons got to win, a much-needed win. but guess what? Once the clock turns to Monday or Tuesday, that's when they say, okay, cool, let's do it 2 games in a row. Yeah. You know, like you got the Commanders coming in, another home game. Let's do it 2 weeks in a row. But for right now, no, let's celebrate the good game that Desmond Ridder had.
Yeah, let's celebrate the good plays. You know, don't get too heated. Like, we're not pushing any narrative. We're here to talk about the game that just happened. Enjoy the good game. Like, enjoy that Ritter actually did elevate when the rest of the offense was falling apart. And, you know, really, like, as I said on Twitter, taking a giant dump on the field for very large swaths of this game. The run game was not working up until the end of this game. I mean, good for him. And apologies to Alan. I think I put the link in the wrong place for Alan. so Alan was just languishing.
Yo, man, I'm still a novice when it comes to Discord. Shame on me. But nevertheless, we no time to dwell on anything.
Yeah, no. Apologies for that, Alan.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Kevin, I don't know about you, Jordan, but I think it's time to join the brand.
Yep.
We're jerking Sam Adams October.
The Jacko. How is that? How is that, by the way?
It's pretty good. It's not as good as Sam Adams Oktoberfest, but it's pretty good.
I mean, Oktoberfest is probably their best beer, so that's a tall order.
Classic. I wanted to switch it up, but man. We got a lot to get into.
A lot to get into, yeah. But yeah,
also,
Jordan.
Just shout out this too. This is funny. Sorry, just real quick.
No,
Matt Tom K. He had a hilarious comment saying the team should just hypnitize Des to think he's home all the time.
Yeah, that's funny. Maybe that's the secret. We just gotta.
You've been saying this for weeks.
Yeah, just if he could just play at home every week, this would be a undefeated team. 17-0. So we just gotta figure out some way to do that. But love that from Matt. Let me go ahead and tackle some of these donations before we get absolutely buried, which is a good thing, guys. We do appreciate that, but I definitely want to make sure we get to people and not make you wait like 40 minutes for us to read your comment. But we got Ray Moon with the $5 off the top. He says, Arthur Smith was in his bag today. I love how him and Ritter both rose to the challenge and criticism. Absolutely, Ray. We got Justin Knight, a fellow Knight out here. What's up, Justin? Falcons winning means I got to support the boys who have to deal with my constant tweets the entire game. It's all good, Justin. Live tweets during the game are blameless. Like, you can tweet whatever you want between when kickoff happens and the clock hits 0. And to me, anything you tweet during the game, it's raw emotion, right? I mean, that's how we do. That's how I do it.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
It is. Yeah. We got Raymond with the $2. Says Ritter with his first 300-yard game. The crow to be eaten is going to be extraordinary. Yes, it will be. And then we got another one from Raymond with another $2 saying, how about that D? Put 97 Grady Jarrett in the Ring of Honor today. Yeah. No complaints there. Yeah. So I think we got through a lot of those super chats. So we'll get it going there. But Alan, we were just basically off the top, giving Desmond Ridder his credit for kind of not only having a good game, probably, or maybe a great game. We'll see, on rewatch. I don't want to crown too early without, watching the tape, but not only having that good game at the very least, but actually elevating the offense that was struggling all around him and sort of willing these guys to a victory.
Yeah. You're just so accurate. I think that's the biggest thing because yes, the coverages gave him some openings and there was a lot of underneath stuff, but I just thought like his ball placement throughout the game, like he was hitting players in stride. Like I love the fact that they really got Kyle Pitts involved. It seemed like they had a plan, put him in the inside, put him in the slot. Like they put him in inside, I believe, on like 5 receiver sets, but then probably moved him more into the slot when it was more like around 11 personnel. But just the fact that they found something with Pitts, finally getting Drake London going. Like I'm at the point where I just get so overjoyed seeing Drake London get the ball because something almost 98% of the time he's gonna do something awesome. And like they just gotta find a little bit more way to get him the ball. But nevertheless, like it was just great to see all the playmakers get involved in he was just decisive, and that's what you want from him. He wasn't really staring down. I know he had that one moment with Pitts where I thought Jalen Petrie maybe
he just made a great play. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I don't think it was that errant of a throw. I just think Petrie just closed in on him. But besides that, man, I thought a flawless game from Ritter and just the maturity he played with. Like you didn't see him try to force the ball too much. And sometimes as a young quarterback, you just have to take what the defense is getting to you. That's it. Like you don't have to get overly sophisticated because you see young quarterbacks sometimes trying to do too much. I think he finally settled down and more times than not, especially with play action, like him and Arthur Smith were just working in unison. And look, I know we'll probably get on the O-line's case for how bad the run blocking was, but pass protection wise, like I didn't think he
best game of the year.
Yeah.
And now, granted, they used a lot of play action, but still, there was moments where they had to drop back, and I don't recall Ritter ever getting touched. So
no, did a great job. Handling it when he did have pressure. He navigated it well, made some plays on the run. I think again, like using his legs effectively, that touchdown. We saw him navigate traffic. On that game-winning drive, just nothing's open, runs out of bounds for 5 yards. Like that's such a small play, but it's so critical to just take those layups. Like get the 5 yards and stop the clock. Like you don't need to push it. Like be calm, just relax. We got this. And that's what we wanted to see. Like it would be so easy for someone in Ritter's position, and we've seen this happen with a lot of quarterbacks where it starts to get dire, which it absolutely was getting dire going into this game. Like the temperature on Ritter was never lower than it was after week 4. He was getting piled on everywhere, the media, Twitter, everything. And we know Ritter sees it, right? Because his famous press conference quote, yeah, I do have a TV in my house. I have heard that legendary quote, by the way. But it's so easy for a guy to get trapped in that and be like, okay, I have to be a hero now. Like I have to prove myself. I have to go out and do this. And instead doesn't push it. He makes the aggressive plays when they're there, but he didn't force it. He didn't get out over his skis. He executed a game plan. He didn't get phased by just the constant mistakes. Didn't get phased by the run game basically collapsing around him for the first time that we've really seen this year. And played a great game. So I think he deserves all the props. It's really tough to bounce back like that. Even though you have to in the NFL, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do for anyone, quarterback or otherwise. And he just needs to build on it now. Like, consistency and playing these types of games, making that the normal, not, this being the outlier, which right now this is the outlier game. So we just need to see this more often. It doesn't always have to be 300 plus yards, multiple touchdowns, that sort of stuff, but it just needs to be average to good and not catastrophic like it was in week 4. And I think, this, like I said to people, like the clock on Ritter getting benched got pushed up a lot over the last 2 weeks, but he could turn the clock back with good games. And that's exactly what he did this week. He bought himself some time for sure.
Oh yeah. And you just look at just the offense in general, and I think now it's could transition maybe a little more to Arthur Smith. It was just great to see Arthur Smith from the start. You could tell there was a real urgency with how he was calling plays because there was just so much misdirection. Scotty Miller finally getting involved on a couple of reverses and jet sweeps. The Drake London throw. Like Arthur Smith just said, I'm doing all. Now, granted, not all of it worked. Kadero Hodge, Wildcat. No, let's not do it again. Unless we're putting Mohamed Sanu in that number 12 jersey, then we're doing it. But I just love the fact that Arthur Smith's like, okay, 2 weeks of single-digit points, and we got to break all stops here because I think he knew how good of a defense coordinator D'Amico Ryans is and how Houston, like to me, that's a really, all right, really good team, a little exaggerated, but that's a damn good team, man. You watch Houston play, like,
oh yeah,
those ones they had over Jacksonville and Pittsburgh were not fluky, and that defense does not allow easy yards. Like the Falcons really earned this, which I think makes this win so powerful because under real adversity, multiple frustrating turnovers with Bijan, John, and Smith. Sue has to be said, great plays by Houston's defense once again.
Yeah.
But we saw this in college, and I know, Kevin, you and Jordan, you probably watched as well, but Ritter apparently gets better as the game goes on. So would you agree, like, his college success kind of translates to today?
I think so, and I'll let Jordan go because I just went on a big rant. So.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think to an extent, the thing for me, though, was it wasn't even that he really started off that slow today. Like there were a couple of passes here or there that I wasn't, too fond of, right? Like I know there was the one Petrie broke up. You were talking about it earlier, but he kind of stared it down, which is the reason why Petrie made the play. It was a good play by Petrie, no doubt, but Desmond kind of led him to that. Cordero made a nice catch. It was a high throw that didn't need to be high. It's just like little nitpicky things, right? For today, which at the end of the day, from your starting quarterback, that's what you'd want, right? You don't want the big glaring things of you need to change this, change that. You want it to be little nitpicky stuff, and that's what it was from Desmond today. I thought he had a solid start, but again, it was just we keep talking about it game in and game out, right? The slow starts and the penalties that lead to slow starts that are a big part of the slow start. So It was just another one of those. It was one of those situations today where it seemed like there was a lot that was just going against him. But if I put Dez in just an isolated window by himself, I thought he started off actually pretty fine today, especially considering, what we've seen earlier this season too.
Well said. Yeah. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because I just love the throw to London and he did this against Detroit as well, because I think Ritter, they have such a great relationship. He knows if he could just put you on the back shoulder, or he just trust Drake London to use his frame, strong hands, and just boxing out those corners on just those one-on-one go balls. Like, that's just one of those moments you have to love, because it's like you see how much the offense they invested in. It's just like you saw Drake London's highlight reel in USC. It's like this guy owns it when it comes to those one-on-one go balls. Just get up to him. And a couple of times this year, you've seen Ritter, his ball placement's been on point, and what a moment. I'm just like highlighting those ones. But I also not encouraging thing, because I feel like they've been like not on the same page at all this year. Like even him and Matt Collins connected nicely on a couple plays. So because I think Falcons offense at its peak, you want to see 7 to 8 players catching passes, because that's how versatile their offense is. And we saw it today.
Yeah, exactly.
Jordan, you know it.
Yeah. Oh, Joe, trust me. I was looking at the targets today, and I couldn't have been happier. This is how it broke down today, just in case anybody hasn't checked it out yet. You had Kyle Pitts, 11 targets, 7 catches. Drake London, 9 targets, 6 catches. Jonnu Smith, 7 for 6. Matt Collins, 2 and 2. Keith Smith running the rail route on play action. Yeah. Love it.
Baby.
What a god.
Yeah. Right. Shout out Bay Area, San Jose State. He had 1 target. Michael Pruitt had a big target and a catch. Bijan had 2. Like, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's what it's supposed to look like. And, it's no surprise that, again, Desmond Ridder has his best day when the design to get a lot of guys involved in different spots and different places, it looks this way. It's not surprising.
No, it's not. And they just need to do it consistently. That's really the thing, is like, this is what this team is capable of. This is what we should expect to see. And like the points should have been higher. Like they made a bunch of mistakes, but you look at how this shook out. The Falcons, 447 total yards, 351 total passing yards, net. Not net. I think that was the total passing yards. You talk about the sacks or whatever, but they still managed 96 yards on the ground. The run game did bounce back a little bit at the end there, over 6 yards per play. And like after starting out really bad on third down, Falcons end up finishing 50% on third down, 7 of 14, and hold the Texans to just 4 of 13. So, they bounce back. They do a great job. And again, like now we have to talk about the defense. Again, like sure, they give up the touchdown at the end after they've been on the field literally the entire day. Literally all day, the defense is out there just stuffing the Texans, dealing with short fields, like just heroic stuff from this defense. And yes, they do eventually give up the touchdown. Jesse Bates, I don't blame him. He thinks he's going to jump this route, and if he does, the game's over. So like he decides to take a chance there. I don't blame him. Like, I mean, it was a great move by Dalton Schultz. Great job by CJ Stroud looking him off there. I'm not going to bury Jesse Bates for thinking he's going to win the game there and trying to make that play. But, they give up that one touchdown.
On the previous drive.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, right? Yeah, he did. Yeah, so it was, they make that one mistake. You live with it with this defense. And then the offense is like, no, defense, you've done enough. We got you. And they did. The offense had their back finally. Go down the field. Easy peasy, surgical final drive. They made it look effortless. They ran out the clock at the 25-yard line, kicked that field goal. But, I mean, the defense just deserves so much credit, because this game could have easily gotten out of hand so many times. Over and over again, this offense, not Desmond Ridder's fault, finally, just craps the bed. The run game's really struggling. Drops, the fumbles, and the defense just keeps going out there again and again and just shutting down the Texans. Like, they just, outside of 2 drives by the Texans, 3 drives, like they barely did a damn thing all day. The defense just limited them over and over again to keep this thing from getting out of hand. And then finally, when the offense is able to get back on the horse, they win this game. But I just can't say enough good things about this defense. It's so hard to just keep doing it, like to not let up against what has been a really good offense the last few weeks. Like this team, the Texans have put up 30 plus in the last 2. 30. They had 30 against the Steelers, 37 against the Jaguars. This Texans team was rolling coming into this game, and the defense shut down the guy who was basically the best rookie quarterback by far. And this defense had an answer, and I'm just really impressed. I can't say enough good things about the play of this defense.
So this is the fun part where I know I've gotten on our play caller a few times. I'm going to get on the Texans play caller a little bit, Bobby Slowick, who, first off, I think he's a really good OC. He called, for the most part, a good game. But here's where I'm going to get on him. Thank you for calling toss down the stretch, because you were gashing the fact, like, this is, I think, right when Calais got hurt.
Yeah.
So one of your best run stuffers, especially, any run between the tackles, they had a lot of success later in that game. And then you run outside toss, and the Falcons were just all over. And before I keep going any forward, speaking of being all over the run, D. Alford, have yourself a game.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
This was the game.
All over. Whether it was, he made some good PBUs. He was, sticking his hat in the run game. I mean, he was everywhere. So shout out to D. Alford today. He was phenomenal. But that was just one of those plays where it was kind of surprising to me, because anything they really tried to do outside in this game, it did not work. The Falcons, and this is one thing I love so much about this team that we hadn't seen from defense, is not just the overall talent and playing together as a unit, but it's also the fact that they play fast. How many times did you see if somebody's trying to make that outside run bounce and bubble some more, or cut back, here come 2 or 3 more guys in there to make the play? That's what got me excited watching this run defense for the most part of the game today. And it was impressive. And because you did that, you got Houston out of rhythm. They had a lot of 3rd and longs. Falcons pinned they would drop their coverage back, make CJ Stroud throw underneath. And again, here's where I'm talking about team speed. Rally to the football. Everybody rallied to the ball, make the tackle short. They got a punt. It was just a really good job overall, especially by the run defense in a lot of big situations today.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, and like, again, going back to the Jesse Bates mistake, honestly, that was not a bad decision from a lot of angles, because guess what? If the Falcons, if that touchdown doesn't happen, and then say the Texans do in fact get the touchdown on the next set of downs, then the Falcons are getting this ball with a lot less time in a much different, more dire situation. So honestly, giving up the touchdown quickly, not the worst decision, not the worst case scenario by far. And like I tweeted about it, it was like, what they can't do is let the Texans bleed this out to like 30 seconds in the game, and the Falcons use all their timeouts, and then the Falcons have to try to go drive for a field goal, because that's going to ramp up the pressure. This team's going to really need to pull something out of their ass. Instead, Bates makes the wrong call. Maybe could have ended the game if that went a little bit differently, but it's an instant strike score. Falcons end up getting the ball back with 1:50 and 3 timeouts. And again, it's like, oh, this is easy peasy. We got an eternity. We got 3 timeouts. I mean, the Texans used their timeouts before the Falcons did. So it ends up not actually being bad. And you take that, and it's like, thankfully the defense didn't cost this team, because I would have hated that for them. They would have probably gotten hate from not you guys. You guys are the informed, discerning fan base. Everyone who watches our shows, very handsome and very discerning, obviously, but they don't. Like, it ends up being okay, and the offense thankfully has their back finally. But welcome in, Adnan. I know Adnan was driving back. Adnan, how are you feeling about this one?
Okay, quick cameo.
Yeah.
My battery life isn't good, and Xfinity could or could not take out my Wi-Fi at any moment right now.
Okay.
So I'll just be here for as long as I'm able to be here, because they're going in and out of my Wi-Fi. So if I freeze up and just like drop off, that's why.
Okay.
Hell yeah, that was a big win, guys. That was a big fucking win. I enjoyed it. Well, I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the aftermath.
I enjoyed the fourth quarter. Yeah, the rest I can take it or leave it. Yeah.
I enjoyed the final drive very much, but leading up to that, it was very stressful and very anxious. But I mean, I have to tip my cap to Desmond Ridder first and foremost, because this was, I think, easily the best game he's ever played in his career. He went out there, he looked confident. He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. He looked like he knew exactly where he was going to go with the ball. He made he made a lot of really good reads, and he made some really good throws after those reads. There were some passes that were, weren't the best, but I mean, it's splitting hairs at this point if you're complaining about that. I mean, he had a career high out there, 329 passing yards, accounted for 2 touchdowns, even though one of them to Bijan Robinson was, just an otherworldly play by Bijan Robinson. I still don't know how Bijan Robinson did that. He was
that was some witchcraft.
As he was juking the defender, he was pinning the ball to his head. I don't know how many players in the NFL right now could make that play in that moment the way that Bijan Robinson can make that play. But, that came out. That was a brilliant play call after an infuriating play call of,
Wildcat Hodge.
Wildcat I was losing my mind when I saw Kaderil Hodge line up in the Wildcat, because this was Arthur Smith just like outsmarting himself again. But, that's neither here nor there. I mean, Ritter had a perfect back shoulder pass to Drake London on a deeper ball. Completion percentage was excellent. And I mean, to be honest with you, I had zero doubt in my mind that Desmond Ridder was going to lead that field goal winning drive on the final drive. I was only nervous about whether or not the Texans were going to bleed too much clock to let that happen. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't happy when the Texans scored a touchdown, because ideally you want the defense to shut it down right there. And if Jesse Bates doesn't get cooked by that double move by Dalton Schultz, Bates had a really good game. Oh my God, that play was just holy shit.
Get that Stanford in there. I love that.
Yeah, we can't talk about Drew Dahlman when it comes to Stanford today.
Yeah, no, we're gonna gloss over that one.
I'll talk about Drew fucking Dahlman in a second.
Yeah, but we're gonna get to that. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get to fucking Drew Dahlman. Like I fucking lost my mind when it came to Drew fucking Dahlman.
Yeah, wasn't his brightest day.
DFD, yeah.
But I mean, look, you got the ball with less on the other side of the 2-minute warning. You had 3 timeouts. You had a minute 50. One thing I've never doubted with Desmond Ridder, and don't get me wrong, I've been a doubter. I'm a doubter. Like, let's be honest here. I'm not.
We know.
I'm not a Desmond Ridder fan. But one thing I've never doubted with that man is his clutch gene. He has consistently proven that he will go down the field and he will put you in a position to win the same way. It's shades of Matt Ryan from his entire Falcons career. We saw it in week 2 against the Packers. We saw it last year in his first ever start at the Superdome against the Saints. I have no doubt that he will put you in a position to at least get a field goal. They did that. That was a masterful drive. He looked a little nervous to start. That pass to Bijan wasn't the best, but Bijan Robinson still goes out and just like catches it with one hand because he's fucking unbelievable. I want to give, now that I've given props to Desmond Ridder, and he deserves full props to Desmond Ridder. He deserves full props from me, but other props, the defense. Shout out to the fucking defense. Other than that last, drive, which wasn't the best, the defense is the reason why this team was even in a position to win that game. Holding the Texans to 4 field goals after mistake after mistake after mistake from the offense out there. I mean, Jonnu Smith had that really bad 3rd down drop. Jonnu Smith fumbled the ball. Bijan Robinson fumbled the ball and gave the ball to the Texans in field goal range. And then you had Drew Dahlman with one of the stupidest things I've seen on a football field from an NFL. The 4th down, you are in field goal range. You got into field goal range. And then Drew Dahlman with the latest. I hope he gets fucking chewed out in the film room for that.
He's going to. Yeah, he probably got chewed out immediately. It cost him 3 points. Took 3 points off the board.
That's one of those where if you're Dahlman, you do not look forward to that film study at all, because you're about to get fucking lit up by the offensive line coach, by Coach Ledford, by Arthur Smith. That was just the stupidest thing. What are you trying to gain right there? That was just a stupid late hit. It takes you out of field goal range. That was the worst time for that play too. Because you're in field goal range. That just took you out of field goal range. The down counts. It's 4th down, and you just lose 3 points. Texans go downfield, and now you're losing at the half. That's psychologically, that can be psychologically deteriorating for a team which really needed a good start and which really needed to go out there and have a really good performance in this first half after the last 2 weeks to now be losing at the half instead of winning because of that play. But, it didn't end up costing you. Don't ever fucking do that shit again.
Yeah.
But other than that, the offensive line did a really good job in pass protection. This was easily their best game of the season so far, in my opinion. Ritter wasn't really under a lot of pressure. Neither was CJ Stroud for the most part on the other end. I don't think there was a single sack recorded in this game.
Yeah.
The offensive lines just dominated. The run game was, 2.7 yards per carry. Wasn't great. It's felt like a lot more from Bijan Robinson, to be honest with you, because he was getting the ball in space and he was making some moves, but it's just the space wasn't really there. And for the first time this season, even though the space wasn't there, even though the Texans were selling out to stop the run, Desmond Ridder genuinely made them pay for it.
Yeah.
And he made them pay for it consistently. He went downfield. This was, I think, easily the best game that he's had with Kyle Pitts on that connection, easily of the season. Drake London didn't really get going to start, but then in the second half, he was a genuine factor. Jonnu Smith was a factor in the first half. The ball got spread around to multiple players. I want to see 3, 6, 9, 10 different players caught a pass in this game, which was very, very impressive. On the other end, the defense absolutely shut down that Texans rushing attack. And the Texans got 2 starting tackles back in this game.
Yeah. So it was a tough test now. Like that offensive line was dilapidated before this game. Going into this game, they got 2 of their 2 best offensive linemen back, Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil. So this was no longer a pushover offensive line that they went up against.
Yeah, absolutely. And CJ Stroud, they made CJ Stroud look like a rookie for the most part in this game. Like, don't get me wrong, CJ Stroud still had a decent statistical game, but CJ Stroud never went out there and he never really lit you up in this game. He never really carved you up. And there were a couple drops from Texans wide receivers, but CJ Stroud definitely looked a lot better in the previous few weeks. And this run defense is legit. We were calling this during camp. We saw what this run defense was doing in those scrimmages during camp, and we were saying this could be a top 10 run defense, a top 5 run defense in the NFL. They're proving that to be true so far. But shout out to Ryan Nielsen, man. Ryan Nielsen is just doing yeoman's work out there. And I was really happy to see him celebrating out there with his defense on that third down. You could see all the defensive players really love him. He was just jumping up and down with them. Ryan Nielsen has done a hell of a job. Great, well-called game by Arthur Smith. And genuinely, this game should not have even been that close. If the offense makes just half the mistakes that they did instead of all of them, this game's a blowout. But this is just what this team needed to get back on track. And now they face a Commanders team that just got absolutely lit up by a Bears offense, which was not very good coming into that week, even though Sam Howell has looked very good in the last few weeks. This team has a chance to build on this. And like I was saying last week, 10 wins is still on the menu, fellas.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right about that. And before we dive into the rest of that, because you brought up a lot of good points there, let me get to some more of these donations before we get too far behind here. We got a 3-pack from George Costanza with some takes here. We got George off the top says, look, I've been the biggest hater on Desmond Ridder, but today he looked like average Matt Ryan from a passing standpoint, which is pretty good.
I'll take that.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Matt Ryan,
yeah. And obviously Ridder has better wheels. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm vomiting a little bit as I do, but is it time to let Ritter cook? Maybe, George. Maybe, I think it's a little premature. We'll
baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps here, but that's at least a statement you can make this week without somebody laughing in your face. George also says this win really does help to take the sting off that Braves loss. What a weekend for football, though.
No,
Georgia Tech. No, don't. Okay. Well,
you gotta score. You gotta score some runs in baseball. No, it don't take the sting away.
Falcons outscoring the Braves this week
tomorrow.
Yeah.
They better put up. Miles Robinson outscored the Braves this weekend. Miles Robinson did.
It'll take some sting out if the Braves can win tomorrow. But if the Braves go, then we're just cooked.
They got to take a cue from the Falcons. They can't get upstaged by the Falcons. That's not allowed.
Yeah, I don't think they can win 2 games at Citizens Bank Park. It'll be hard enough winning 1 game at Citizens Bank Park, but yeah. The Braves have a chance to really solidify themselves as serious frauds in the coming days, which would really hurt my heart because I've been banging the Braves drum all year about how this team is different from other Atlanta teams. It may not be, but
it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
We'll get to that. We're celebrating today. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Shittiness when we get to it. But later on. Shout out to Younghoe Koo too. That final. How about the TV cutting off like in the middle of that field goal?
This is like, oh god, that was brutal. But
I just need him to.
Oh, go ahead.
I need him to go out there and do his dance like Alejandro Mata did for Colorado last night. I need Arthur Smith pointing him like, go out there, do your dance. Go do your dance.
Yeah, I do not think Arthur Smith is Deion Sanders in that regard.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, guys, let me get to a couple more here. We got George Costanza with the $2 says, after watching Dahlman today, are we sure Jalen Mayfield can't come back and play center? Whoa, okay, calm down, George. Calm down. Yeah. Dahlman was brutal today, though. Don't know who's pissing me off more, him or McGarry. Is it a coincidence that McGarry went out and then our offense started to improve? Obviously, that's
I wanted to talk about that, man. Because, dude, Storm
Norton, my guy. Yeah.
Right tackle in the last 3 years. Like, you ask Charger fans about Storm Norton, they will lose. Granted, there's not many of them. Sorry to slander Charger fans. But, like, Storm Norton, he's been such a liability on that team. Like, he's gotten Justin Herbert crushed so many times. He comes in, he looked functional. I'm just like, all right, man.
He can run block.
When I saw his name, I'm like, oh, no, not Storm Norton.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Hey.
He has a great name.
Effectively.
He has a great name. So, like, it should come eventually, right? Storm Norton. I mean, that's an amazing offensive tackle name. So
I know, but, man, he had so many opportunities with the Chargers, and, like, he got destroyed. You watch the Chargers on primetime the last few years. Oh, man. But, look, not dwelling on the past. He came in, and for a reason, they started running the ball better. And I think that's like the two biggest things I want to see when rewatching the film. What went so wrong with the run blocking? Like, how many times did Will Anderson make a play off the strong side? Like, he was I know there's times where he's going to be on block, but it just got so ridiculous. And then I just want to see how the secondary held up on these third downs, because why was Stroud consistently throwing under the first down marker, like by well short of the first down marker?
They were suffocating those receivers on the back end. They were doing a great job. And they were getting pressure. They weren't getting sacks, but he wasn't just sitting back there. Like, he had to get rid of the ball. So, like, it wasn't beautiful by the pass rush, but it was enough that Stroud did have to check it down or throw it short. So,
and it was so frustrating how Fox would never show like a replay. Like, don't they have one camera angle where they can show us like what the secondary is doing? Like,
they're just so shocked. Yeah. They're so shocked by this Falcons defense. They're like, we don't even know what to show. Like, the Falcons defense doing well. We weren't even paying attention. Yeah.
Like, dude, this was on Amazon Prime. They would have given us like 5 different angles. Like, you watch Thursday night, like DJ Moore's touchdowns getting dissected 4 different ways. I'm like, we only get one Falcons third down stop where we could see, what kind of coverage are they running? How is Nico Collins getting covered? Robert Woods or Tank? Like, how are they getting? Because I thought CJ Stroud played really well, but you could tell like he was just not comfortable throwing downfield unless it was off play action or it was like on early downs. Because come third down, Falcons were just right there the whole time, and it just goes to show you like what a well-organized defense could do for you. And it's just wow. It's just such a joy to watch this Falcons defense, and we literally haven't said this in like 6 years.
It's like when the defense comes on the field, I'm like, oh, I can relax. I'm going to sip my beer and just sit back and enjoy. It's been so long since that. It's like the opposite of what we used to get, where it's like, oh god, the defense is here. I better tune out and watch something else. No, this defense is crushing it. They deserve all the praise. Ryan Nielsen deserves all the praise. They've absolutely come out and balled. And the defense is absolutely. They have been they've done enough every single week for this team to win. They've been blameless in my opinion. This defense is a playoff caliber defense at this point. This is not a fluke. We're 5 games in. They've played some very good passing attacks. They've held everyone in check. It's just up to this offense. Like, just be normal, right? It's like that meme. Just be normal. Like, that's all we need. Just be normal, Falcons offense, and you're gonna win. You'll win some games, So,
well, here's the truth about what the Falcons defense has done, and I'm taking the 2 coverage busts out of it. Right throughout the whole season, they gave up 10 points to Carolina. You had the 24 to Green Bay. You had 13. Again, I'm taking out the coverage bust against Detroit. You gave up, let's see, what was 16, and then take away, so 9 really against Jacksonville, and now 19 against Houston. I said this before on another podcast before this game. I said, look, the way the defense is playing, all you have to do is get to 20 points. All you have to do on offense is get to 20 points. You're more than likely going to be put in a good situation to win. Well, shocker, you score 21 and you win the game today. Like, it really is a compliment to how this defense has looked and has been playing, because, again, as good as they've been, and if I want to get nitpicky, I can do it. But that's how fun it is. It's no longer the big holes that we have to talk about, right? Man, there's no coverage. Man, outside, they're not going to pick on AJ Terrell because they can throw here or throw there. You can't say that about them anymore. Now it's things of like, oh man, if Jesse Bates would have had that pick, and maybe that's a pick six, or it's things like that now because he was there. And that's another thing I want to shout out too about the secondary. No coverage bust in zone today, right? Like nothing, no big bust that led to an easy touchdown. I mean, even talking about the play where Jesse didn't get the interception, I love seeing the mid-play communication between him and AJ Terrell. See, AJ passed off the route and Jesse just comes flying in. It was beautiful. Again, that's something that, to Alan's point, what he said, you haven't seen stuff like that the last 6 years from this Falcons defense. So it's enjoy it, really enjoy it.
I want to ask all you guys around here, because we're talking about the defense as a unit, but let's highlight some players. Because other than D. Alford, I feel like we haven't really highlighted too many players. Like for me, I think this was Bud Dupree's best game, even though he didn't do much as a pass rusher, but I thought he set the tone in the run game. He had a great deflection that Nate Landman almost picked off on third down. So for me, like if I could spotlight one defensive player, it would be Bud Dupree. But I want to hear from you guys, like Adnan, who's one defensive player you think that stood out today?
I mean, not just today, but overall, I think Nate Landman has had a hell of a season so far. Nate Landman has been an upgrade over Troy Anderson. Like I know
I don't know about upgrade.
Yes,
I feel like,
it has been. Yes, I'm not surprised either.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, Anderson is young, and who knows. It sucks that he got hurt, and we are losing out on a full year of his development. Yeah, and that's not a good thing at all. But I genuinely feel like Nate Landman, since he stepped into that starting middle linebacker role, I think the defense is better with Landman than it was with Anderson in there. That's not to say, long term moving forward, Nate Landman is the guy he could be, or that Troy Anderson's a bust or anything. The injury sucks, but Nate Landman has been so genuinely impressive, and it feels like he stepped in. He has the instincts to play this position. It feels like an opposite Duke Riley type situation where, Duke Riley was here. Duke Riley always sort of, was around the play, but he could never make the play. Whereas with Nate Landman, it feels like he's going out there and he's constantly around the play, and he's sort of just putting his hand in the cookie jar all the time. He's always out there. He's always making plays. I tip my cap to Nate Landman, and I tip my cap to the front office who brought Nate Landman in as an undrafted free agent last year. He didn't work his way to the roster last year. He worked his way there this year, and he was ready to be the next man up out there. And he's living the NFL dream right now. You're a starting middle linebacker on a really good defense, and he's going to be a factor in this league for a lot of years to come. And hopefully he'll be a factor on this team for the coming years as well.
Yeah, you got to tip your cap. I mean, that's just great. Eval taking a chance on a guy who Jordan, you and I talked about it a lot on Trench Talk, that a guy who basically had his NFL dreams really challenged by a season-ending injury, where he just wasn't the same guy after that injury, ends up going undrafted after looking like a clear day two, maybe even better linebacker for a few years. And he seems like he's getting back, and I'm just really happy for him that that's happening. But it's great for everyone. I mean, it's great for Landman. He's getting a chance here, and I don't think he's going anywhere. And then the Falcons, they're going to be rewarded for their faith in Landman, because guess what? He's an ERFA next year. You guys know what that means, right? He's taking a vet minimum deal without question. He doesn't have a choice. So if he's your starter at middle linebacker on an ERFA deal, I mean, you're saving so much money there. Even if he's just a depth guy for you behind Troy Anderson, as a guy can start or can come in as your third linebacker. You're saving so much there. You might be getting $5 million of value out of that at this point. So, I'm just happy for him. It's really just a great situation all around. The Falcons get a good player at a low price, and Landman gets a chance to shine. So good for him.
Kevin, how about you? I know Jordan mentioned the offer before, and Jordan, that's what I get to you. But what were you, Kevin? Who's a defensive player you think you want to spotlight today?
Yeah, I mean, you guys took all the easy ones. I mean, I'll give Jeff Okudah a shout out. He did have that one coverage where he messed up the handoff on Dameon Pierce, like on that final drive. But I think otherwise, like Okudah like saved a huge run like early in the game on Dameon Pierce, where he made that sort of shoestring tackle. I think it was on the opening drive where he stopped him at like about 5 yards in, where there was not really anyone else out there. And I think Okudah, like that holding call on him was weak as hell. That was great coverage.
Great.
He's been a huge upgrade in coverage over Trey Flowers on the outside. And he just really has unlocked, I think, a much better overall secondary for the Falcons. So I think Okudah, healthy now, playing well, happy for him as well. Another guy who injuries really derailed his early NFL career, finally getting a chance here in Atlanta, a second chance, and looking great. Really, really happy for him and what he's been able to bring so far in his 2 games of actual starting snaps.
How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've already given the love to D. Alford, and I'll just say it again because if you're going to play a lot of nickel, and of course, a lot of defenses have to nowadays with how much people like to spread things out and throw the ball around, you need to have a nickelback that's not afraid to stick his nose in the run game. And D. Alford was all over the place today in the run game. And for me, as someone who played at the line of scrimmage, one of the things that gets you very excited or gets a D-line group very excited is seeing those corners who are not afraid to stick their nose in the run game, be at the line of scrimmage, get dirty, get nasty, and make things happen. Again, I love the Nate Landman pick. I mean, obviously, at this point of his career, he's much more of a natural linebacker than Troy Anderson is. Remember, Troy is still very new to this. So in terms of instincts, how he sees the game, how he reads and reacts to the game, he's going to be miles ahead of Troy, and that's fine. That's expected. But no, I love the pick. Nate's been awesome. On that one play, I know we're talking about Jeff Okudah. I couldn't tell if that was on him or if Caden Ellis carried the seam route a little too far. Yeah, because the way Jeff was looking at it, he was thinking that Caden was going to be there. And I looked at the replay. Caden was up there with the safety still carrying. I think it was Mechie that was going up the seam. So I'm not really sure who was at fault there for that. But
there was some kind of confusion on that coverage. That's probably an all-22 thing. But yeah,
there was something there. But no, again, like I said, the Falcons, if you look at it, you have 2 true corners on the outside with AJ Terrell and Jeff Okudah. But you also have a true nickel. D. Alford is a legit nickelback. He played a phenomenal game. You've seen him pop up more and more on tape. And like I said, I gotta keep tipping my cap to him. Phenomenal game.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because you look at Terry Fontenot and what he's done. A lot of criticism for draft picks, and like I think Terry Fontenot's been fine as a drafter. It hasn't been great, but he's hitting roughly 50%, and I think the first rounders are all contributing. So that's about what you expect from an NFL GM. But he has been different in free agency. He has been an elite free agency GM. Now, finally, with some money, every single signing almost that this team has made has paid off. Like D. Alford, finding him in the CFL, huge for them. Nate Landman as a UDFA, huge for them. That's technically free agency, undrafted free agency or whatever. But like David Onyemata, Jesse Bates, Caden Ellis, all huge major contributors. Jeff Okudah, the trade there, huge for this defense. Like he doesn't have to be an elite drafter if they're going to hit all their free agent signings. I mean, Calais Campbell. I mean, still one of the NFL's best run defenders, and I think the veteran leadership that he brings is again something that really matters for a young defense. So, it hasn't been flawless. But it had, and that's the thing. Like, this is the 3rd year. This was, I think what we're seeing from this team through 5 games is sort of what I think we should have probably expected, which is that while this is a year that they're expecting to make the playoffs, this is still a stepping stone year for this team, where this is now the year where we're expecting to have a winning record and take a step toward the playoff, they're not all the way there. This is still we need to figure things out. We need to take the next step. And it's not always going to be linear. It's not always like, oh, well, we're just going to take a step forward and we're going to be better every single week. Like, no, you can see the offense is still very much finding itself. The defense is ahead of schedule, I think, clearly. So that's always nice. But they've got a ways to go. But if they can put together games like this on offense, at least half the time, right? If they can just do this at home, they'll be in position where if they just steal a couple road wins here and there, that they'll have a winning record and probably be in contention for this division. And that's all we really need from this team this year. I know everyone always wants this team to be great, and like we obviously want that, but being realistic, like they're putting a lot of faith in Ritter, who's a 3rd round pick. We need to know if he can be the guy. He bought himself some time with this game, which biggest props to him, bouncing back like this and playing a damn good game. We need to see this more often, obviously, but as long as he can play average to good, then he's not going to get benched. We were talking about the benching when he had 2 just absolutely catastrophic games, and like maybe we see more days from Ritter that are like that, but people have to remember a lot can happen in the NFL, and week to week, this is one of the craziest leagues. Like, look at that Thursday night game, right? The Bears look like the worst team in the NFL going into that game, and they drop a 40-burger on the Commanders, who were just embarrassed. Like, this is the NFL. Like, stuff is not set in stone. What we don't know a lot, and stuff changes quick. So people are like jumping to dunk on Ritter, which I think is pretty pathetic, honestly, from a lot of people. Like, just seems like people were just waiting for him to fail so they could dogpile on him, and that's just, I don't know why you're doing that with anyone on the Falcons. Like, if you want to dogpile on Saints players that are struggling, like, that's absolutely understandable and fair. But like, give a guy a chance to bounce back, and he might reward you. This is why fans aren't the ones making the decisions, because if the fans were in charge of this team, based on Twitter, right, we'd have fired Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder would be benched, and he would have never had an opportunity to show this performance. And maybe Taylor Heineke would have a good game too. Who knows? But this is why you can't just rush to decisions in the NFL. You have to let things play out. You have to be somewhat patient and give guys a chance, because things do change. Guys can improve. Guys can also get worse. Things might not change. Really anything can happen, but it's still early. We still got a lot of football left to play, and you guys got to buckle up, because I don't think this roller coaster ride is ending anytime soon here in Atlanta. So
no, it's not. But at the end of the day, here's the positive thing about it. And I mean, obviously a positive win, but I'm saying even with the up and down with what we've seen, there's still a good chance to go 4-2 next week on the season. You get to 4-2, the possibility and probability of you making the playoffs, whether it's winning the division, wild card, you name it, they're looking pretty good. And, that was the thing. And trust me, I was one of those fans and a supporter of the Falcons that when I was watching the games, I'm listening to critiques of the games, other people breaking down quarterback play, the play calling concepts, you name it. While you're in it, it's just like, oh goodness, what is going on? But then you look at it, it's like, all right, you're 2-2. You play 2 really bad games. You win the next 2 games, both at home. You're 4-2. Step 1 of that's done. Now we got to get ready for step 2 next week.
Yeah. It's about the consistency and about, again, iterating and building every week. Like, you're gonna have to live with the bad games with Ritter. That much is obvious. It's nice. Like, this is the best case scenario for him now, where he has his best game coming off that worst ever 2-game stretch of his career. So now he's bought himself some breathing room. He's shown that, like, not only can he can be better than awful, like, he can be very good even. So we've seen it now. Like, I think a lot of people were like, oh, we haven't seen anything from Ritter. Like, I thought that was false. Like, I think no
Absolutely
matter what,
false.
Like, no matter, like, that fourth quarter against Green Bay was picture perfect. Like, that was absolutely great job. Now that the flashes have been flashes, he hadn't really put together a consistent game until this week. Now he has a consistent game. He has his best game. Let's see how he builds on that. We need to stop going backward. That's for damn sure. But, like, he can go backward to, like, average or go backward to good. And you're like, okay, that's fine. He just can't go backwards to the catastrophe that we saw the last couple weeks. And, I hope for the best for him, because I always feel for guys that get dunked on, after a couple bad games. And like we were contributing to the dunking, but it was deserved, especially after week 4. But like,
but we kept it professional though.
Yes,
like,
yes, exactly. Yeah, we're not dancing on his grave or something. Yeah, we're not dancing on his grave. Yeah.
Apparently, I'm a hater.
Yeah.
I'm a hater. So I was dancing. I hit the gritty, all of it on his grave.
Yes, Jordan noted Desmond Ritter hate. And I thought Adam was the hater, actually.
Hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, apparently, I might have founded the club. Who knows?
If you throw 2 picks, probably should have picked the third on the underthrow.
No, he deserved the criticism last week.
Yeah, like he deserved it. Like, what do you want from us? Like, what, we're gonna like be sympathetic? It's like, no, let's be clear. Like against the Jaguars, he actively hurt the team, but his decision making and poor accuracy. All right, he responded decently in the second half, but like, how do you want us to critique a performance? Like,
it goes both ways. You shouldn't dance on anyone's grave on this team, not the starting quarterback. But at the same time, just because someone is a starting quarterback of your favorite franchise does not mean that it's just blinders up and you have to unequivocally support him no matter what and just completely ignore every single downfall, because that's just, if you want to be a fan like that, be a fan like that. Like that's completely your right. But that's I think that's a dumb way to fan. But I mean, it is what it is. Everyone can be a fan the way they want, but don't sit there and then get mad at someone else for not being that type of fan. Because at the end of the day, we are members of the media, but we're also Falcons fans at our core more than anything else. And we were Falcons fans before the Falcoholic. We'll be Falcons fans after the Falcoholic. And it's one of those things where, if Desmond Ridder comes out next week and looks the way that he did last week, the criticisms are going to fly again. And if he plays the way that he did today, he'll get props. It's a neutral, like down the middle. I said it last week. I hope that I am wrong about Desmond Ridder. I hope that I'm wrong in my evaluation, that I don't think he'll be a franchise quarterback long term. I would love that. I would love that more than anyone. Like I'll sit here and I'll say, oh yeah, I was completely wrong. I was completely in the wrong. I don't think I will be, but if he continues putting on performances like this, we'll have a really good rest of the season. And right now that's all I can hope for, because at the end of the day, right now we are at 3-2, but we're also 5 for 5, Kevin, in our preseason game by game picks, because I think we have picked every single game correctly so far. And if that continues, they'll go to 4-2 next week.
That's right.
I think you picked the Washington game as a win.
I can't remember. I think I did. I picked them to win. I think
so.
Yeah, I did. This was preseason. Yeah. So
this was back in July. This was back pre-training camp. So far, we had them at 3-2, winning and losing these exact games. Now, the Jaguars' loss was a lot uglier than we would have hoped for, but you know what? So far, so good, and hopefully, our hot run continues with that win against Washington, and then it absolutely ends the next week, because I had them losing to the Buccaneers in Tampa.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I did too. I think Eric had them losing to the Commanders but beating Tampa. And then we had them beating the Commanders and losing to Tampa, I think. Or maybe I had them losing to Tampa. I know that. But
I had them losing to Tampa, and I had them losing to the Titans too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I thought that the Titans would be their stupid loss.
About us picking the Titans in that game.
No, the Titans game, I thought that would be their stupid loss, and I could see that for sure.
I can see it. The Titans are coming off a bye, but that's going to be weeks from now. Right now, big bounce back. And hey, how about this? How about drawing them offside 4 times in this game? What the
my favorite play.
Oh my god.
My new favorite play in the playbook.
Elite. That was even better than their running game. Yeah.
Especially that last one. That last one that last one was a 12 men on the field. Another very stupid mental error from the Texans, because it made it 1st and 5. For the record, I know it worked, but I still would have liked to run the ball when it was on 2nd and 1 and gotten as close as you can on the next couple of plays, versus I mean, you were still in Younghoe Koo's field goal range, because I'm talking about the knees at the end of the game. I don't know. I'm just of the mindset that if you have a chance to get any closer, then you should do it. But it worked out, so I'm not gonna split hairs on that one.
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
think the
guessing.
Mario
Cristobal,
may have
how that
influenced
works.
it? The
Right.
I'm wondering if the 2 fumbles may have
Yeah,
been in the
I
back
think
of
so.
the Smith
Yeah,
line.
I mean that could have played a role, and then maybe seeing what the Miami Hurricanes did yesterday against Georgia Tech also played the stupidest thing I've ever seen a coach do on ever. Like
So that's the second time he's done that. That's the second time Cristobal's done that. He did it in 2018 against Stanford when he was at Oregon.
In fairness, against Stanford, I understand that because he wanted to. A first down would have clinched the game. He was running it on second down. I think Stanford was going to get the ball with 15 seconds left. So I wouldn't have kneeled the ball there either. It was just unfortunate. But this one was just obscene. It's just you kneel it and the game's over.
Yeah. So, all right, let me get to some. Yeah. No. I think that was what it was. I think you guys are right about that. I think he was like, we're not going to risk anything. We're well within Koo's range. We've had a lot of mistakes today. We don't want to hold. We don't want anything. We're just going to kneel this out. And it was the right call. They didn't need to get the first down. They didn't need to. Like the clock, they had plenty of opportunity to run the clock down. If they needed to get the first down to run the clock all the way down, I think they would have done it. They didn't need to. I think they made the right. It was the conservative call. I think it was the right call there. All right, let me get to these donations before we get to my prize picks, which, spoiler alert, not so great this week, but it's okay. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But we got Guy Fieri, aka Solera, in the chat with the $2. He says, all right, conspiracy theory time. I think Captain Ginyu must live in Atlanta and Cincinnati. Desmond definitely switched bodies with Matt Ryan in this game. No wonder he's so good at home. A hard conversation to have also.
I love the Dragon Ball Z reference.
Yeah, nice ref. Good ref.
So
Good ref there.
man.
Yeah. Hard conversation also. Ryan Nielsen is definitely getting poached. Probably not this year, but maybe next year. It could happen. It could if they're that good.
Would you guys agree with this take? I don't think it's a hot take. I think he's the best coordinator hire not named Kyle Shanahan in the last 15 years for the Falcons. Maybe even
So far.
longer.
So far. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's been 5 games, but it's on pace to be that way.
Yeah, like I don't think a coordinator has came in here and had such an impact like he had.
Yeah,
Or
it's
he's
been
been
huge.
Definitely defensive. The only defensive coordinator I can think of is Marquand Manuel for a year, but then even he, after 2017, that sort of went out the window, and he became a big quote for Dan Quinn.
I also think that defense in 2017 was, I don't know about significantly better, but it was definitely talent-wise better than this current defense. Like 2017, they had guys.
They were stacked.
They got guys now, but I don't think at the same level. 2017,
because they had really good young players in 2017 who were just really coming into their own, who were just straight Pro Bowl level.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I can think of, maybe Mike Nolan back in like 2012.
The amoeba.
Call, man. Mike Nolan had his run. He had his run.
Yeah, I mean, for as much as we didn't like the ending with Mike Nolan, he put on some defenses. This team hasn't had a lot of success with coordinator hires.
No.
Yeah, I was about to say that's how you know what's bad. We're struggling to find names, and we're 5 games into Ryan Nielsen being the DC.
He's already the GOAT. Yeah. So.
I like that call, but here's another thing. Like I think that 2012 defense, you want to talk about? I didn't think they had more talent. I think they had more all-pro talent. When you look at John Abraham, Asante Samuel. I know Brent Grimes went down week 1, but they had Grimes. Weatherspoon was there. Like that defense had some premium talent. Besides AJ Terrell and to an extent maybe Jared Onyemata, who's really on a all-pro caliber level. I thought that the 2012 defense, they had all-pro caliber players. This one, he's working with a lot right now. That's why I'm thoroughly impressed, because I think he's really getting the most out of this roster. Not saying this roster is limited, but look, they got their flaws. We could talk about I think if the opportunity is there, they got to get an edge rusher.
If they can get Danielle Hunter, I would go for it.
I'm
send a day 2 pick.
I think Randy Gregory would have been a fine gamble.
Well, I wonder what would have happened if they released him versus making the last second decision to trade him. Who knows?
I don't think they were willing to trade for that contract. I think they would have definitely tried to sign him, but
let's get Chandler Jones in here, guys.
He's gonna clear some tests.
Yeah. No, I think Danielle Hunter is legitimate. I think there's a chance they go for that. Especially if the Vikings lose the next couple games, they're probably going to lose this one. We'll see, and they're out of it. A lot of people were like, "Oh, are they going to trade for Kirk Cousins?" No, but they will trade for a Viking. Maybe Danielle Hunter. He would be absolutely perfect here. He's that exact type of guy that Nielsen likes. So that would probably take them over the top. I would love it. Now he's 31, so you're not necessarily getting a super long-term guy, but I think you can get another 2-3 years out of him probably. So, but yeah, let me get to these tips. We got some George Costanza, another George Costanza 3-pack here. He says, overreact to Ritter's performance. Are you new here? We're Falcons fans, dear boy. Overreacting is what we do. Yes, it's from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery. Thank you, George, for clarifying that. Because I did mess up the quote on another one.
You did mess up movie quotes before, so
yeah, I did. Thank you, George. Yeah. He says, dead serious, though. We're above 500, 5 games into the season. We've been waiting for this. Doesn't matter how we get the dub. We could be the Panthers after all. Geez, talk about a dumpster fire. Yeah, that is.
Oh, that team could gift Caleb Williams to the Bears.
Yeah, about as catastrophic, as you could think.
That trade could end up being DJ Moore and Caleb Williams and the other stuff for Bryce Young, who, I mean,
still could be good, but yeah, we'll see.
I mean, still could be good, but Bryce Young is, I don't know. I think he's too small. Like,
there's nothing around him yet where I can really give an opinion on what Bryce Young is or isn't, or what he will or won't do.
Well said, Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to judge too harshly Bryce Young. I'm more judging that the Panthers thought they assembled this, like, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen coaching staff, and so far that has been a disaster. That offense is not well coached at this stage. So, yeah, we'll see. We got Corey Carter with a couple here real quick. Says, love some of this play calling on that pass down the hash to Pitts in the first quarter. There was that fake pitch to Algier that manipulated the defense. That's helping your quarterback. We've been begging for those wrinkles. Even on that touchdown, we had that Algier motion to the right with Hollins pulling left to get the defense off kilter. And then also, he says, loved seeing us crowd the line of scrimmage on defense and be aggressive. Also, was that pass by London on the trick play planned? I'm not so sure, but great job not relying too much on Bijan today, even if it is gonna cost my fantasy team a win. Yeah,
I do not
I'll take
know
it.
If that was planned. I do.
If
not
it was, brilliant. I mean, Johnny looked like he was ready for it. So
yeah, I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe Arthur Smith put an option in there to throw the ball. If you sort of got. I don't know. I don't think it was planned.
Are we running reverse RPOs now? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
We were like, we want RPOs, and he was like, okay.
Yeah. Sort of a bailout play. If you get crowded, then you can just sort of throw it to a leaking out check down. I don't know. It didn't look very plain.
It didn't look clean. It was definitely not clean.
It worked.
But it was
22
effective.
yards.
Yeah.
Well, can I highlight another great play by London? It was a little bit of a clunky out route. It was on third down, but the way it was 4 yards from the first down marker, he does this spin move, and that's the thing with Drake London. Like, he is very dangerous after the catch. So you just have to give him opportunities, because more times than not, he's either going to run through contact or just break one tackle and just get the necessary yardage. And given how things were kind of stumbling offensively, they need that one. It's just those moments. Like, to me, I think he's the energy guy. Every good team needs an energy guy. Like, you saw their reaction after big play. He took his helmet off. It was like a Roddy White moment, if I could use the jersey here as an example. But love it, man. Like, I think Drake London, like, I can't speak enough. Like, you have to get him 6 to 8 targets minimum a game, depending on how the game pace is, because I think there's going to be games where the Falcons are going to be absolutely eviscerating teams on the ground. It just, I don't know, it didn't work today. And as Jordan, I know as the trench talk guy, what do you think went wrong with the offensive line? I know it's hard watching live, trying to diagnose what didn't work, but from what you gathered, why do you think just there was no holes out there?
Well, I mean, first off, the Texans did a great job of reestablishing the line of scrimmage consistently. Usually when you talk about the Falcons in the run game, at least when it's working, it's, Tyler Algier or Bijan Robinson, they can go on average 3-4 yards without first contact, right? This game, it was, how many times did you see Bijan make people miss to make a 3-yard loss or 2-yard loss into a 2-yard gain or no gain, things like that. So, give the Texans credit for that. Give D'Amico Ryans credit. And, I mean, they were telling you all along what they expected from this game, right? Jimmy Ward had his comment about they're not trying to pass the ball. They have playmakers. They're not trying to pass. D'Amico Ryans even had, it was like they asked him a question about Desmond Ridder, but his answer was, oh, they've surrounded him with, some good talent and some good, playmakers on the outside. So it was almost like a slide at Desmond to an extent, right? But he wasn't going to flat out say it. No one really does that. Right, exactly. So they knew it was like, okay, this is going to be our game plan. We are going to sell out on the run and see if we can put them in a position to make Desmond Ridder beat us. Well, surprise, everybody. He beat you. But no, I mean, that was their thing. And that's a fast defense, right?
Yeah.
If you look at
really well
the similarities, yes. You look at some of the similarities with what D'Amico had to work with in San Francisco, not looking at the names. I'm just talking about look how they play. What makes San Francisco so good and made them so good when D'Amico was there, they fly to the ball, sideline to sideline, right? Like guys like Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, all those dudes, they fly all over the place. And that's what you saw from Houston today. I mean, how many times do you see Will Anderson, if he wasn't play side, kind of setting that edge, he was on the backside making a play happen, right? Chasing the play down. There was just so many hustle plays that helped turn into TFLs from that defense. It was really impressive to see.
Malik Collins too. I remember him flashing in Dallas, but man, Malik Collins had a big impact.
He was playing really badly before this week. Their interior was really struggling. So they all came to play today. That Texans front, they were really struggling. Like they were really not stopping the run well, and all of them stepped up big time. So D'Amico Ryan's just too good of a coach to let that stand. And like it should be pointed out, we didn't really mention it. Like the Texans were down their two of their three starting corners. Steven Nelson, still their cornerback one, was in there. But Tavier Thomas, their nickel, was out, and then Derek Stingley Jr. and Derek Stingley's backup, Shaq Griffin, were both out. So, but again, it wasn't like the Falcons were just like running away from the coverage, and that was why they were having success. I thought the Texans were still playing well despite having some reserve guys in there. It wasn't like they were just getting their pants pulled down. But it worth noting, potentially, I'm sure that didn't hurt that Ritter's production there, but not going to take anything away from him for that. You got to beat who's out there. That's the big thing. You beat who you're lined up against. And that's all you can do. So, we got 3 more donations to get through here. Thank you guys. We do appreciate that. I appreciate the comments. It's a lot of fun to read your guys' thoughts. And of course, we appreciate the donations, obviously. Thanks, guys. We got Corey Carter with $2, says, I thought Nielsen did a great job today disguising things, crowding the line of scrimmage. If you can't generate a ton of real pressure, at least disguise it and make the quarterback adjust. Crowd the line and man up on the outside. Yeah, they've done that really well so far. I agree with you there. We got Jason Gaines with the $2, says, I agree with Adnan about this game that should have been a blowout, but we'll take the dub. It was nice to finally have a Falcons game on Fox without hearing Saints linebacker Jonathan Vilma spew his anti-Atlanta bias. Also, Adnan, what was it like to meet Matt Ryan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys know about that.
Because I told him. I may have said something. Yeah, I may have said something on the show on Wednesday about you not being there because Matt Ryan got mad at you for all of your Matt Ryan hate. I may have fanned the flames.
Nothing's a secret in the world of social media.
I may have fanned the flames on that.
I didn't post that. I did nothing with that.
No, that was me. That was all me. Yeah, I said that we hadn't heard from you, and we didn't know if Matt Ryan had taken you somewhere to an undisclosed location.
I mean, it was a quick. So I was at this convention for work, and Matt Ryan was there for Bud Light. So Bud Light brought Matt Ryan in. It wasn't even like a conversation. It was just a line of people were just waiting to snap a picture, and then it's like, all right, keep it moving, keep the line moving. And I mean, Matt Ryan, his voice sounded so hoarse, so I can only imagine just how much he was, talking, or I think he was like a keynote speaker or whatever. So it was not. It was just a quick pick and a keep it moving type thing.
Yeah.
He did not recognize me. He
didn't realize you were the hater.
I got to get Evan on that. I got to get Evan on. We got to get Evan on getting Matt Ryan on the show. That's the big fish that we're sort of tasking.
Yeah, the white whale. Yeah, you should have hit him with that Always Sunny where you're like, hey, and then you just hand him like a tape, and he's like, well, what the hell is this? The future of radio. Join us, and then right off into the sunset. But we didn't rehearse that ahead of time. We weren't aware. If we were aware, we would have set something up, I'm sure. But Evan would have been able to work some magic. But as it stands, yeah.
I mean, I didn't even have time to throw him a Falcoholic link or a link to the show or anything. It was just all right, the people who organized it were like, all right, next.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I hope he gets a call game this year. I don't know how many times the Falcons are playing
I think we have one. I think we have one he calls.
Yeah, I hope so. That'd be such a cool dynamic.
He's just like, watch him just like criticize the hell out of the offense. He's like, oh yeah, back when I was there, I would have hit that throw. Come on.
Kyle Pitts has 3 targets. It's the fourth quarter. I really think they should get Kyle Pitts the ball. In my last year as a starter, this man broke the
give me a
what
call.
record?
Yeah.
The rookie tight end record?
I think Austin Hooper would have 10 catches in this offense per game right now. If I was
he
quarterback.
came close. He came close to breaking Mike Ditka's rookie tight end record.
There we go.
Yeah.
So it was Ditka in like the 60s, and he not only had the rookie tight end record in like 14 games, but he also had 14 touchdowns or something insane like that. In an era where you just did not pass the ball.
Yeah.
Crazy Mike Ditka, man.
Yep.
Legend.
Yeah, Mike Ditka was cold like that in his playing days. I mean, I'm sure very few people, watched him, but I'm sure the more senior fans among us who did watch back in those days can probably attest.
Yeah.
Like Dave. I'm sure Dave would know.
Yeah, Dave would know. He would have that information. Guys, one more from George Costanza talking about the end of that Georgia Tech game. George says, I'm a diehard GT fan, so watching Mario run the ball with 30 seconds left, I was just stunned. I think he was hoping for his running back to get over the 100-yard mark. This is a win that defines a season. Maybe it'll even get us to a bowl game. Rambling wreck. Yeah, good for Georgia Tech.
Where's DW when you need him?
Right,
Miami pissed away an undefeated season thus far on that play. They were 4-0. They would have gotten some national attention maybe as a 5-0, ACC team, and a team that was probably well on its way to the ACC title game. And I mean, that's one of those things where you either like you can't like the decision, but that's one of those situations where I know I'm going to give like a sort of a boomer take right now, but you sort of have to respect the game a little bit, where you're forcing the issue and trying to get your running back up to 100 yards, and you're sort of putting the game in a little bit of danger as opposed to just completely kneeling the ball. And you paid for it dramatically in that situation. Right there, I think you just kneel the ball. It's like you have 99 yards. You should have gotten to 100 yards at that point.
Yeah.
If you really...
Hasselbeck said it best on the call.
Yeah.
Like he said it best on the call.
There you go. Yeah. Can't just leave it. Don't need any more commentary on that. Just let the GOAT, drop the bomb there on the call. All right, guys, before we take off, I want to bring you a quick word from Prize Picks. Check in on my Prize Picks this week. Hope you didn't ride with me this week. Didn't go super well, but hey, can't win them all, right? We did actually hit the Young Wei Koo 6.5 fantasy points. He had more than that for sure with those 2 field goals and the extra points. So nailed that one. Bijan Robinson didn't quite get to that 79.5 rushing yards number. I really thought the running game would be better in this one. I think pretty much everyone did. Pretty disappointing there. And then Alvin Kamara, more than 24.5 receiving yards. He had 12 targets last week, so thought, oh yeah, he should get there. Well, didn't get there because the Saints completely blew the doors off the Patriots, and they basically just didn't have to do anything at a certain point. So missed on those last 2. So hey, no matter what, guys, we keep rolling. We're going to keep it rolling. Not going to let that one get us down. But just remember, guys, today's show is, of course, brought to you by Prize Picks. And just so you guys know, in case you're not familiar, Prize Picks is a skill-based daily fantasy game where you pick 2 to 6 players. Just decide if they will go more or less than their prize pick projection. The more players you pick, the more you can win, all the way up to 25 times your money on any entry. And at Prize Picks, you're not competing against other players like other daily fantasy. It's just you versus the projections. Also, make sure to check out their generous promotion schedule. They have stuff during the week on weekdays like Flex Friday and Taco Tuesday. It's also not just the NFL. So MLB, NBA, when that starts up, PGA, even college football, whatever you want, they've got all that and more. And guys, you can make Prize Picks entries in as little as 60 seconds, and they offer fast withdrawals. It's that easy. All first-time users also that use our promo code DBB, you guys will get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. That means if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will match it and give you $100 if you deposit $50. Prize Picks will give you $50. So just make sure to sign up, use our promo code DBB. And guys, thank you so much. Also, guys, because Prize Picks is daily fantasy, it's available in 31 states, including Washington, D.C. and most of Canada. It's the best way to have action on the game in states like California, Florida, Georgia, notably, and more. 70% of the United States as well. So here's the map real quick for those that are looking. So yeah, check it out, guys. Appreciate Prize Picks once again for sponsoring the show. Fellas, it's been a fun one. Nice to finally get another dub. I'll go around the horn real quick to get final takes from everyone before we sign off on today's show, starting with Jordan Watkins, guys. He is at Big75Fella. Also, my co-host over on the Falcons Trench Talk, which comes out on Tuesdays. Jordan, let the people know about your other show as well and any other takes you have.
Oh, yeah. Falcon Fade podcast. We'll have a reaction show coming out tomorrow. Then we'll have a show previewing the Commanders matchup, probably coming out Saturday. Final takes. First and foremost, Corey Carter. Smart kids do not suck at football. If you don't believe me, look at my 3 conference championships and Rose Bowl appearances. Should have been Heisman winners, yada, yada, all that good stuff. Anyway, like I said, let's just keep stacking. It was a great start, especially with the quarterback play caller chemistry. Great start today. Let's keep stacking it. Want to see it again, show up again next week. Another home game. Let's ball out, get to 4-2. And again, the outlook once again looks really, really good at what the season could be.
Yeah. We're back. We're back up. Let's get the word out that we're back up, everyone. Okay. Need you to put the word out. So thanks again to Jordan for coming on today. We're also joined by Alan Strk. He is at Alan Strk. Alan, any final takes, anything else you want to let the people know about?
I'm not sure how much we talked about him, but I was so encouraged to see like Kyle Pitts kind of find his role in the offense. Once again, utilizing him in the slot or an inside when it came to the 5 receiver sets. Like if he has to be that possession receiver, then so be it. So I think he kind of found that role, and you just want Desmond Ridder to have that security blanket. And even though John Smith kind of has that role, it's just good to see Kyle Pitts actually get the targets. And there's a couple moments where he had like 15, 18-yard receiving yards. Like there's just moments where like, okay, he's not just someone that you just dink and dunk with. He's someone that can stretch the field. So hopefully this is the sign of things to come, because I just think Pitts is too dynamic of a talent, and I like the fact that they're really trying to make it a greater effort. And I think he does look more healthy too, which is important, because there's no denying. You watch the tape, especially that Lions game, like he did not look healthy. So hopefully this is a start, because I just think when Pitts is on form, he just adds a whole other dimension to his offense, and it makes him so much harder to cover. And I think he played a big reason in this, not only his victory, but just giving Desmond Ridder more confidence and just helping find the rhythm, because we wanted to see this passing game find the rhythm. And if he could just hit 3-step drop, hit Pitts quickly, get 12, 15 yards, let's do it. So hopefully it's a start for Kyle Pitts, because I don't know about you, I'm tired of hearing Kyle Pitts slanders. So
yeah. Oh, I agree. 100% agree there with you, Alan. And thanks again. Appreciate you coming on and delivering some takes on the Big Dub show today. And then also joining us is, of course, Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way, who's my co-host on Wednesdays, Falcoholic Live. Adnan, anything else you'd like to let the people know about today?
Yeah, first of all, I know that I look very grainy. I look like someone just pointed a remote
time of day.
At me.
Yeah, it's this time of day.
Someone pointed a remote at me and is just turning me off right now. So I understand, and I know that the people in the chat will give me a hard time for it, because they always do. Look, I don't know. It's a Mac. I don't know what to do here. I can't change it. I can't. Blame out.
We're gonna get you new. We got the new mic. We're gonna get the new camera going here soon. So.
Did you set it to Wumbo?
Set it to Dub. Yeah.
I had it set to M for Mini, but I should have changed it to W for Wumbo.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So I understand. I understand the reference out here. Big win. Big win today. Big win for our sanity, especially after a big Braves loss last night, and especially after God knows what could happen tomorrow, because the Braves season could prematurely end tomorrow. Let's keep it rolling. You have another very manageable game against the Washington Commanders next week at home. You will be favorites in that game. I am very confident. And I hope that Desmond Ridder can keep building, and I hope Desmond Ridder can keep stacking, as Jordan mentioned. And it's one of those situations where, you know what, let's go to 4-2, and let's take this shit all the way to 10 wins, baby. I've never wavered off the 10 wins. We're rolling on the 10-win train. Let's get it.
Yeah. We're not, we weren't going to change our prediction after those last 2 bad games. We're definitely not changing it after a good game here. So I still think 10 wins very attainable, but they got to keep building. They got to keep building and getting better. And honestly, the first 4 games of their schedule is one of the tougher parts of this schedule, especially weeks 3 and 4. So we'll see how they go from here, how things go. Guys, thank you all so much for joining us on this Falcons vs. Texans Week 5 post-game show. We'll be back with a new show for you guys. Trench Talk coming out on Tuesday with Jordan and I. And, of course, we'll be back for another Falcoholic Live Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Until then, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks again. The show was presented, of course, by BetOnline. And, guys, thank you so much for the donations, for the chat, for the fun. Appreciate being able to celebrate another big dub with all of you. We will see you guys again in a couple days. Until then, have a great day, folks. See you next time.